WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. I want to thank you for being with us each and every week. We bring you information, hopefully quite a bit of education to help you understand what's going on, sometimes right around you or in your backyard. And today is one of those times that oftentimes it is right around you and in your backyard, and that's agriculture. Eileen Coite's with us and Andy Herring. Andy, thank you for being here today. I want you to kind of take off and lead us a little bit on where we're going. Eileen's been on before, and everybody kind of knows Eileen as being one of the key assets we've got in agriculture with Cooperative Extension. You've been everything from the director out there. Now you're trying to keep people educated in the world of extension and understanding. Andy, you're a farmer here in Sampson County, up on the northern part of Sampson County in the 421 area. Tell us a little bit about Andy Herring. And how did you end up in farming? Was this a family move? Did you decide, well, I'm going to take over and work the family farm? Did you just kind of say, well, I live in somewhere else? And you're from here and you're farming in this county. Tell us a little about your history.
Well, it goes back from the time I was a young boy, I guess. I was raised on the farm. My dad farmed, his dad farmed. And yeah, it was kind of a family going thing at the time as I was starting up in age, but he passed away when I was really young. And so that kind of gave me an opportunity to wonder a lot and wonder what I needed to do with my life. And, like I say, when I was young, I enjoyed the idea of, continuing that farming legacy. I always loved it from a little teeny boy. I just enjoyed being around the equipment and seeing the things happen and progression being made. And I was on the heels of a very progressive farmer. My dad was aggressive, and he was really good at what he did. But as I aged up and became an adult, I tried my very best to leave the farm. I tried to just avoid it because everything about it looked kind of scary, actually, and unsure, as it would for anybody. And I was just wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I decided to kind of career search, if you will. And I made several different moves, even working with Eileen for several years. She and I worked together at Extension in Wayne County for a number of years before I decided to make that leap back to the farm. I told someone the other day, it's kind of following the lead. Everywhere I went to get away from farming, I was with an agriculture-based company or agriculture-based system. And so it just kept bringing me back home. And so that's what I ultimately did. I just ended up, I said, well, I'm going to try it. And, it's a 50-50 deal. We're either going to make it or we're not. And I want to see what happens. And so when I was about 26 years old, I started farming on my own independently. And I've been doing it ever since, a little over 20 years now.
Now, you do a lot of row crop stuff, correct?
That's correct.
Do you do livestock? Or?
I do. I grow turkeys on contract with Prestige Farms. We've been growing turkeys now for about 17 years, I think, or 18. And our row crop typical years are corn and wheat, soybeans. We have grown a little cotton in the past, and a few pickled cucumbers and a handful of sweet potatoes in the years past, trying some different things more recently. But the row crop, the grains are where my heart is. That's where I was reared on, where I cut my teeth. And I don't grow tobacco, although I was raised in a tobacco patch. I don't grow any tobacco on my own because I think it's way too risky now, just the way things are. But that's just an opinion for me, and it's everything I do suits me well right now. And so that's where I've been stuck for a long time.
Well, I'm going to segue to you, Eileen. You guys, like he said, you've worked together in the past, so you're kind of familiar with Andy and understand a lot about the farming business. I want to kind of just toss this out for consideration here. Just kind of give us what you're seeing from your perch, should I say, is some of the biggest challenges facing agriculture that you're looking at right now in 2023 and maybe going to 2024. What are some of those challenges? You talk to farmers all the time. What are you hearing?
Well, JW, the biggest thing that I hear is that people don't know where their food comes from. You hear that a lot. And I think we've done a much better job in recent times about educating the public, but we could still do more. And so you see agritourism type farms popping up all across the state and the country. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, people want to know where their food comes from. And if we don't help show them how that's done, then they're going to come up with their own story. And so we have to kind of open the gates or the doors to let them come in and visit. And so I'm excited that some of that's happening. The other thing is we hear the labor is hard to come by. There's more and more kids that grew up in farming, like Andy, that, they think, oh gosh, this is such hard work. There's so much expense to it. And so then they go off to college and then they try and find a job that's outside of agriculture when there's so many jobs out there that don't mean you have to be on the tractor or in the hog farm or whatever it is. You could be an accountant or you could be an attorney or what, there's just so many different avenues that still could circle back and support agriculture. So, but I think those are some of the big things. The other thing is farmland preservation. So there's more and more development coming in and folks, as our population grows, and people want to get a little further away from the big cities, then, it becomes more pressure on the rural areas. And so, and then when you combine that with the agriculture that's here, people need to know there might be some dust, there might be some trucks, there might be some smells, or, some things that slow you down. So just, be patient and appreciate that, if you moved from there to here, those are some of the things, there may not be as many traffic jams or traffic lights out there that you have to go through, but you may have to slow down and just wait on that combine to get off the road instead of trying to shoot around it. So, but those are some of the things that I see and that I try and help with. Sure.
And Andy, I want to circle back to you on that same discussion point. From the seat you sit in, you're looking at it as a owner, operator, businessman. When you look at that and think about it, each year in planting season, you got to look at a lot of cost. You got to look at a lot of input. What concerns you over the past years that you've been involved? What's different about where we are now as opposed to maybe 10, 15 years ago? And what really, if I had to pose this question in a different light, I would say, what really concerns you at night when you lay your head on that pillow and you think about your business and your farming operation? What's the key thing that strikes you, that concerns you the most?
That's a big thought.
It is.
Paying the bills, number one.
Yes.
First and foremost, generating enough income to be able to satisfy the expenses that you've incurred throughout the year and provide a good home and a good life for your family. And the next thing is, what's life going to be like in another 15 or 20 years when I'm unable to do this, and my kids, what are their lives going to be like? Where are they going to be? And I'm always going to be an advocate for agriculture because it is by far one of the most necessary industries in the world. We've got to have fiber and we've got to have food, period. But, but I'm not going to just push my children into agriculture. I'm going to allow them to find their own way. I found my own way, and it's not come easily, but it's not been overly challenging at the same time. When you look back, it's been manageable. It's what I wanted to do and where I fell into the puzzle pieces the best. But like Eileen said, there are hundreds of thousands of jobs that are connected directly to agriculture, even in the industry, even in making microchips. That Wolf Speed that's in Cary coming up now, or Raleigh, whichever up in the RTP area that's opening up and doing their thing right now. That's an agriculture-based company. It come off NC State University where it was started, and it's basically they're making chips for like iPads and tablets and things like that, which we have integrated into the cab of a tractor and a combine. I ride several monitors around in my machinery every day, as long as we're when we're doing a plant job or spray job or a harvesting. We keep track of our data. That's the connection there. Eileen made a good point. Attorneys. Nothing but specialized agriculture attorneys for getting labor here out of country, and for getting, all kinds of things going on, to make settling deeds and simple things like that we do day to day. But there are a lot of jobs from blue collar right on into white collar that are just connected to agriculture directly. Some are kind of sidelining, but my biggest concern is really, where are my kids going to end up? Where do they want to find themselves, and is the world going to be able to sustain itself for them? My first thought is, can my farm today sustain itself? And can my neighbors sustain itself? The answer is ultimately yes, but we really hope so. Because things are so much different now than 15 years ago. 15 years ago, the price of seed or fertilizer or chemicals was a third or less than a third than it is today. Probably way less than a third. But yet the price of a bushel of corn is not 2/3 higher than it was 15 years ago. It's maybe 50% higher, if even, probably more like a third higher. So there has been some increase in profitability, well, not in profitability, but in income, just from price standpoint when we sell grain or sell cotton or what have you. But the cost of input has climbed so much faster, and we can't bring our base price up.
Hold that thought. When we come back, I want to talk about sustainability of our ag in our area here. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking about ag today, things you need to know.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Most aging adults want to stay in their homes as long as possible. And as your loved ones get older, you want to support them, even when you can't be there. Star is proud to offer Star Alert. This new system is now mobile and has GPS compatibility, so your loved ones can live their lives and you can have peace of mind, knowing they can get the help they need with just the simple push of a button. The new Star Alert also offers automatic fall detection, so help will be alerted even if they can't press the button. Call and ask about Star Alert today.
105.7. 105.7. Tuning into Christian 105.7 is tuning in to a space of hope, encouragement, answers, and love. With the magic of radio or the convenience of the internet, Christian 105.7 is focused on sharing the universal truth and light of Christ with a local touch that creates that special feeling of community. More than just another broadcast station, we're your neighbors. Christian 105.7. What faith sounds like.
Welcome back. We Should Know's on there. J.W. Simmons here, your host. We're talking with Andy Herring and Eileen Coite about agriculture, and we probably have more conversation in breaks than we're having on air, but it's a very deep and weighty subject. And Andy, as we went to break, and I want to kind of get you, Eileen, both in on this conversation here. We're talking about the sustainability of ag. We're talking about sustainability not only in the sense of just the finances, but the sustainability in folks actually deciding, well, I want to do this. And Eileen, Andy laid out a good example in how he decided to finally end up coming back to that family farm and keeping it going. Are you talking to a lot of farmers that are questioning, well, wonder if there's somebody in my family to keep the farm going?
I think that is a conversation that happens some, just because, you know, with the input costs, we were just talking about that and the way the cost of everything goes up. But sometimes, you know, what you're getting paid for that product, you know, it's not increasing with the cost. And so at some point, you know, there's folks that say, well, you know, why do I continue to do this? I could, you know, go get a job driving a truck or what, you know, whatever that other job is, and have that paycheck coming in and, you know, insurance and whatever, like some of these other careers. But they do it because they love it. And, but, you know, for me personally, I try and focus a lot of my time on educating young people, because when they're in those early stages of their life, you know, I think they need to know have an appreciation of where their food comes from, but also know that there's careers out there. So when I go into schools, which are usually elementary school type situations, I bring some information about different commodities and different things that are grown in North Carolina. And one of the things I talk to them about are the different careers that are out there, because, you know, you don't have to be out there inside the hog house. You don't have to be driving that tractor, but you can find a career in there. It may be scheduling feed trucks that are on the road. It may be driving that truck. You know, it may be managing people that do those things. So there's just so many different opportunities, and it takes all of them to make this world of agriculture go around.
Andy, when I think about some of the things that Eileen just mentioned, this whole idea of sustainability becomes important because the picture of farming is much more than being in a row crop field or in a turkey house or a hog house. It is much larger. When you look at the idea of sustaining this, what do you think the general population needs to understand? Is that is it the fact that if it's not sustained and we don't have some way of producing the products, that at some point in time there is going to be a result at Food Line, Walmart, any of the grocery stores? You're not going to have that fresh vegetable. You're not going to have that meat in the section, or it's going to go up so high until the average person will have to go back and get that can of Spam, I guess, and start trying to eat it. But kind of give us a picture of what you see and what folks need to know about their role in helping sustain agriculture. Well, JW, when you think about the United States, all right, the United States was discovered and developed over time and we found it to be rich in agriculture. We didn't know what we were going to find west of us, until we got there. So ultimately, to fast forward things, people decided and discovered that, we were sitting on a gold mine worth of ground to produce things with. And we learned and cultivated and learned how to use and manipulate the farm. And that's where we came from as far as agriculture goes. Now, again, fast forward a little more, just like right here in our own area, we seem to be the mecca of retirement right now. We have so many people selling homes up north, retiring, leaving that hustle and bustle of the big city living. And for some reason, they don't want to go all the way down to the East Coast. They don't want to go further south. I don't know, maybe it's too hot for longer or too crowded already or whatever. They don't want to be in too much, but they really seem to find our area, especially Sampson County and Johnson County and Wayne County, close to the coast, but not on the coast. It's more affordable housing, more affordable acres of land to buy.
And so we're losing a lot of our farmland every day to housing and, the normal things, road development, all kinds of things are changing. And it's shrinking the family farm. It's not even shrinking the family farm. It's shrinking North Carolina agriculture in general. Okay, so ultimately the simple math is if you know that everything you get out of the grocery store to survive on to eat comes out of the field somewhere, and we're taking more and more of that away, then eventually we're going to run out. We're going to run out of the ability to produce those products that we want to use to survive and that we need to sustain ourselves. Or it's going to be so high that you can't afford it. Which had you rather have? Had you rather back off a little bit and go live somewhere else, or stay somewhere else, or buy something that's already built from someone else that's ready to move to another place, and leave that agriculture land available, because it's a necessary evil. It's something that we have to have as the world population. Now you look around the world and say, well, there's a lot of places that are undeveloped that would be easily, broken soil and produce, good viable products for what have you. But then you've got the delay in shipping, the logistics of it. It's got to get from Africa or South America to here. And that puts us in a whole different light. We're not the ones producing. We're the ones asking someone to supply us. And when we ask for somebody else's help, then, we're at the mercy. We're at their mercy. And we've seen that happen in recent years, in the last few years during COVID, when we had so much of the port shut down, and how much challenging it was to get a simple item shipped to you, or anything. I mean, something as simple and necessary as toilet paper.
One of the things that struck me too is something you mentioned in off air a while ago was this idea of looking at sustainability as it relates to your profit and loss statement, and that idea that you really don't have any control over the product you sell. It's not like you can say, well, I'm going to put $20 on this, and that's not most folks don't question it. You buy it, but you that's already kind of predetermined in many situations.
Well, as far as grain and cotton, things like that, they're traded on the open market. Chicago Board of Trade dictates a baseline price for any given month in which we're trying to sell that commodity. Now, the thing that does change more so than not, and I can't answer the why, is basis. Basis points or basis numbers, just use corn, for instance. If a buyer, be it Smithfield or Southeastern Grain or Prestige, a grain mill, grain elevator would be buying, they're going to base up or base down to set their basis, which is basically freight for us. So in other words, if corn's $5, if it's set at a $5 market for day, then they put 30 over that month, and that'd be $5.30. But they can at any given time drop it to 5 over, or a negative basis, depending on their supply, whether they really are wanting any today or not. And that's one thing we can't dictate. We also don't get a chance to say, hey, y'all, the CBOT says, Chicago Board of Trade says $5 today, but I've got corn that's better quality or something I think, and I'm the first one picking in the neighborhood. Nobody else has delivered y'all, and I want $6. We can't establish that. We can't dictate anything. We're driven by the open market, which is fair trade. The basis is a little bit funny. And I don't particularly agree with it. A lot of days that kind of gets my dander up whenever I see the basis change in a negative way. But those things are at least somewhat budgetable. We can sell early, or we can wait till we have house our entire crop and sell it all later, and we can know what we have to sell. And when the market price gets where we want, or we can establish a floor early before we get it, but that's a little more risky. But we can do certain things to kind of combat the cost, but we're still sitting on a plateau of market price for every commodity that we sell. Another thing we can't change is our input costs. Today nitrogen may be $100 a ton. Next week, when you call and say, hey, I'm ready to take a load of that nitrogen, it might be $300 a ton. Things can be extremely volatile. Chemical prices, seed prices, fertilizer prices altogether. And those things are, you can kind of see it coming. Sometimes you kind of can. It's kind of like fuel. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows how gas prices go up and down, and it's very volatile. Our fuel prices change daily too. It just depending on the day that you call the fuel supplier and say, I need to buy this load of fuel, tractor fuel or truck fuel or gasoline for your car or whatever. You're just at risk of what the market says that day. And it's a very volatile market. And that goes to back to what you are talking earlier about is it hard to get people to find this kind of life attractive? Yeah, there's way more than just hot, dusty days or cold wintertime jobs that you have to do that could be unattractive. I mean, those actually are not too bad. The financial side of it, when you really get old enough to recognize the costs and the expenses that you incur through a year, that can be a really quick driver in pushing people away from this kind of atmosphere and this kind of life, because it is very volatile. It's very extremely volatile, in fact, and it's very risky. You put your whole livelihood at risk most every time you start a crop.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to kind of continue this discussion, particularly about sustaining ag, but kind of get into some of those things that maybe folks don't know, the nuances, some of those areas that you're involved in that you won't see if you ride by a farm or you see it in a magazine somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking about agriculture right here in this area. Call a friend.
For the ultimate Wi-Fi experience, you need whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Star's whole home Wi-Fi provides ultimate coverage, ultimate performance, and ultimate power all the time. Star's whole home Wi-Fi systems feature the latest Wi-Fi 6 technology and are equipped with unrivaled bandwidth and 4 times more simultaneous connections. So you can connect tons of devices throughout your home with no lag and no downtime. Plus, with 24/7 support and remote troubleshooting, you can rest assured that Star is always there to help you should any issues arise. Star's whole home Wi-Fi also comes with the Command IQ mobile app, putting you in control of your home network and making it easy to set up and connect devices, run network speed tests, pause Wi-Fi, and set parental controls all from the palm of your hand. It's the ultimate Wi-Fi experience. Contact Star today to get started.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
Eastern North Carolina is a beautiful place where we gladly choose to call home, and we strive to provide the best communications services. Star is committed to improving communications to all our service areas because we want to improve the communities where we not only work, but also live. Star Communications. We are neighbors serving neighbors.
Welcome back, folks. We Should Know's on there. J.W. Simmons here, your host. We're talking with a gentleman that has dedicated his life to farming. Took a little while to get there, but over the past couple of 3 decades, you've been involved in it. Andy Herring, thank you for taking time, getting off the farm a little bit, but coming in the studio, sitting down, talking about it, and the importance of farming. Also, Eileen Coite. Eileen, you've been in this in a long time. You're in your role now with Cooperative Extension. You're really trying to educate people, and it's one of those things that's a challenge for all of us with everything that's on our media windshield every day to try to get ag pushed up there somewhere so folks can see it. So I want to kind of start this portion with a few statistics that I was picked up on that just recently came out. And it talks about this idea of where farming is in the financial perspective, Andy. And receipts, for example, receipts from corn falling by 19%, dropping to $8.5 billion. This is nationally, dropping that much. Soybean receipts are also projected to decline by 19%, losing $5.5 $4 billion. Now, these are national numbers, so don't let people think that's Sampson County or North Carolina. But cotton, for example, expected to decrease by 25%, dropping nearing $2 billion. And it goes on. Everything from dairy to hog receipts expected to decrease by 39%. These numbers, when I look at it, poultry expecting to drop more than 12 billion. This is national numbers, I understand. But the reason I'm bringing this up, it causes me to think about trending. What's trending now? And what you just talked about, it should cause people to just stop and say, wait a minute, I need to listen to the rest of what these folks are talking about. Because if this continues, we're seeing people at a larger rate also just leaving the farm saying we're not going to do that. So I guess I want to pose this question for this segment. How do we, through an education process, Eileen and Andy, with what you're doing and just being here today, how do we change the dynamic of this? And where are these drop in prices? And you just pointed out so vividly, your cost is not dropping.
Right.
So everything else around you seems to be. So that's not a fascinating market to attract people to. Let's start the conversation there.
Probably the best. It goes back to what Eileen was talking about. She's going into the classroom now, teaching these kids, so to speak, or invoking their mind a little, explaining some things that they may not have known, but something that I've done once in the past, and I have a scheduled day a couple of weeks from now. Invite some of the kids from school to the farm and just show them what it's all about. Show them the equipment, let them climb on it, get a little dirty, and look into the inside of how things actually function and what really are we doing. And shortly thereafter, we're going to close it all up and start putting them in one or two at a time as much as I can get up in there. And I'm going to ride them around and let them see how it actually works in the field. I mean, it's one thing around here. We have the convenience of riding by and seeing a tractor in the field or a combine or a cotton picker and say, oh, okay, I see kind of how that thing's working. That's neat.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting at the helm, you're driving that machine, you're riding right beside the driver and operator, and you can actually see it function. That's a treat that everybody don't get to have. And that's where my love for it came from. Mm-hmm. As a 3 or 4 year old little boy, that's where I climbed up in, and every time one come by the house, I'd run it down and climb up with them if I knew who they were, and I'd go with them. That's just how it was. But that's one way to kind of help. We tend to be, especially now, everyone is a little bit standoffish of one another. We're afraid we might offend somebody. We might get somebody that might get hurt. Mm-hmm. Something might bad happen. The wrong thing might get said. And that's possible. I mean, it's always possible. Mm-hmm. But if you're telling them the truth, they're just going to have to like it or not. Mm-hmm. That's the way it is. But if we can open the doors to our areas and our property, our home, basically, and say, y'all come on over here and let me show you what we're talking about. I want you to see it for yourself. That's where we're going to get the best retention of and not that we're looking for appreciation, but where people will see the value in the farm and understand better and have a better appreciation for what someone else has done. Mm-hmm. Because for every thing that we have that we call a simplicity of life, somebody else sweated for it more than likely. Mm-hmm. Somebody had to walk through that turkey house and get dirty. Yeah. Somebody had to provide that bird to be there, or that slice at Subway or Jersey Mike's or wherever. Somebody had to help produce that product, and somebody got dirty doing it. Mm-hmm. Mike Rowe is a perfect example. I don't know if y'all listen to him speak, but he continually has spoken to Congress about the lack of vocational jobs, and that for every plumber or electrician, and in our case today, farmer, that's retiring, there's only, or for every 5, I think his stats are, for every 5 that retire this year, only 1 or 2 people are in their place, young and starting into that trade as a career. Mm-hmm. Somebody's got to get dirty. It's not going to hurt you. It might be a bad mess to clean up from time to time, but you're going to get sweaty, you're going to get dirty. That's just life. If you go work out at the gym, you're going to get sweaty. And you think that's production. In your mind, that's being progressive. It's the same way with me. Whenever I can come home at night and I'm greasy from top to bottom, as I was last night, we're making progress. It takes that work to make the world go around. It's just like it takes a office manager or a CEO of Ford or GM or somebody like that to make things happen. It takes a dirty job, has to go along with every clean one that there is. That's just the way it is. So, in inviting people onto the farm and saying, y'all come and take a look around, we find it pretty interesting. You may too, especially at a young age. These kids kind of at least understand more about where things come from, how they're produced, and what it really takes to get there. And like I say, if they can't do anything except learn, I don't ever want to do that, then that's a good lesson learned. Yeah, even my own children. I've told people before, if I don't do anything by allowing them to walk with me through my turkeys every week or every few days, if I don't do anything other than teach them what they don't want to do for a living, then I've succeeded in that lesson taught. They'll find something that's better suitable for them at that point, but they'll know where their food comes from. And they'll understand that somebody has to have a bad job every once in a while, to get things done.
One of the things we've done here, and Eileen's been involved in this whole process of what you're talking about, excuse me, which is trying to educate people through a TV channel, trying to put something out there on a regular basis on the different aspects of farming, whether it's sweet potatoes, whether it's corn, whether it's melons, whether it's turkeys, hogs, cattle. There's so many different facets. And we've talked a lot about how to do that, how to get it together. And here's the thing, Andy, ag seems to be such a complex industry. You literally have more than we can actually consume at one time, and it's a bit overwhelming. How do you see us processing and helping push out more about agriculture through the media and through the mediums that we have accessed here? Radio, TV, Facebook. How do we push out the true story rather than the hyperbole?
Well, that's a complicated idea.
It is.
Because like you just said, there's a host of avenues in which to go. But at the same time, we live in a complex world. So we're already accustomed to having just millions of tidbits of information thrown at us every day. Pick a few and give it to them. I see on YouTube a lot. There's a lot of guys with YouTube, and ladies, I say guys meaning just people in general. But there's a lot of folks that have your own YouTube channels. And in agriculture, I see a lot of guys, they're getting on the tractor and they're talking about what's broke down or what they've done right or how they fix this or different things. I mean, it's all kinds of stories. There's millions and millions of stories that you can look at if you wish to. And I'm not really interested in doing that. I think it would be neat. I could do it because I could do it a lot. It would might not be really interesting content, but it's there. There's always something. That's one thing I've always enjoyed about what I do is that almost daily it's something different. It's the same old grind. Yeah. And year in, year out, it just keeps revolving around the same circle, but every day is a little something different. No 2 days are alike. And, you just get up, you just go ahead. It's not habitual necessarily. It's simple. And, you start in the door thinking, well, I'm going to continue on with what I did yesterday, and something changes and you have to do something different for a little while. And it's just, that's the mix up of jobs that there are to do. That's one of the things that I enjoy about what I do, about farming. I mean, it's a continual problem solving session, if you will. Keeps your brain fresh, I guess. But now sometimes it'll wear you out. But it's what keeps it interesting.
Eileen, it sounds like a daily challenge. I mean, when you look at the aspect of if you're going to hire somebody, or if you're trying to get somebody intrigued as to this may be something you want to do, when you look at some of the details, you're going, My gracious, if that breaks, then it turns everything in this direction. You have to shut down for 2 hours because you don't have a part, and you have to send somewhere to get it, and then somebody's got to fix it. And I think it causes me to think more about ag as a multitasking operation, and the demand for it. It just seems to be, and when we come back, I want to talk about that a bit, is this idea. It seems to be hard to find people that's willing to step into what sometimes people would call the storm and be able to accomplish what farmers actually accomplish. Because, guys, it seems to be, Andy, it's like, in spite of it all, we're still surviving. So we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment and talk about some of the technology advances in farming, things that you might not be familiar with. Stay tuned.
Just because something may work doesn't mean it's right for your business. Let Star Communications' knowledgeable consultants help you customize a hosted voice system that's right for you. Our dedicated experts work with you to understand your business needs and guide you at every step, from choosing and installing services to ongoing maintenance and support. Contact Star today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming on the last segment today. We want to thank you for being with us. Also, remember, you can reach us at weshouldknow.edu@gmail.com. That's weshouldknow.edu@gmail.com. Drop us a postcard, letter. If you want to tell us something, maybe some folks we need to talk to, more information out there, something we missed, something we need to add, just send that to Post Office Box 1482, Clinton, North Carolina, 28329. And we always enjoy reading that. Or do as you usually do. Quite often, you'll stop me in the grocery store or somewhere and say, hey, I want to tell you about something, or you should do. I love to talk to you anytime, all the time. And again, we're talking about ag today, and we've got Andy Herring with us, and we got Eileen Coite. This is an interesting combination because, Eileen, you're in the education part, and you guys have worked together in the past with Cooperative Extension. Andy, you decided after kind of trying to go through all these other doors that you were going to go back home, and as you said a while ago, you were going to get dirty. You were going to get in it and work on it. That's right. But I want to, in this segment, I'd like to talk a little bit about something Eileen alluded to, is this advancement in technology now. The old 140 farm all tractors and one rows and all that kind of thing. I mean, I'm sure there's still a lot of those out there, but in the new world of ag, this is often a computer-driven science technology. Sometimes I look at the equipment in the field and I would be dangerous on that equipment.
Well, absolutely, JW. Everything is very well modernized today. The fundamental ideas are the same, basically. Yeah, and some guys still use old row markers and old school technology, as you would call it. But there's a lot of modern technology out there. It's almost frightening to think about having to learn systems and what capacities and capabilities we have in the field, from auto track, automatic steering from one end to the other, and maintaining a combine and a tractor speaking to one another and staying side by side at the right place to unload on the go and things like that. You can do all kinds of things. I use a lot of technology on my equipment. Point row clutches on planters to start the flow of seed at the right place, so we're not wasting seed, not overplant. Also with liquid applications for fertility or spraying, we use a lot of sprayer controls that are automatic. And like I said, self-driven, so to speak. I won't call it self-driven, but auto steer. We still stay in the machine, and we don't get out and run around doing other things while it's working.
Yeah,
but
that makes me feel better. Right?
Yeah, we don't have to depend on row markers and things like that to try to keep our rows straight, and it really does reduce fatigue throughout the course of a long day. You can be watching other things happen, keeping them monitored while you're driving to the other end of the field. That helps a lot. But with that comes a lot of higher education for the people operating the machine. Someone has to have a good understanding on how to function how to set this equipment up and get it going. It's not overly complicated, I don't think, but I'm very accustomed to it. Some of these younger kids coming in that may be interested in that. That's another attraction for them, if you will. It's a lot like playing a game in a lot of ways. But when I'm planting in the fall, in the spring or in the fall, and when I'm harvesting, I have an iPad and a monitor. I run John Deere equipment, so I'm running John Deere monitors, a John Deere monitor and an iPad piggyback together, capturing data and telling one another what to do. As far as I can set my planters up, for instance, on prescription planting. Through that iPad, software in an iPad, I can tell it, in this particular field, if I want 20,000 seed per acre on this end of the field and 40,000 on the other, we can make that change happen on the go. Wow. So there's lots of intricate detail work being done with our technology. And there again, that throws us out there to how many thousands of jobs that will affect agriculture directly. That you never have to be in the field necessarily or on the farm making that job happen. Although, in my opinion, that's the place you need to start. You need to know what the needs are and how to make them happen. Once you kind of get the given information on what needs to happen, then you can go into wherever an office space, sit down at your computer and you can write the program and to make it work. That's how most of this stuff was born. It was born off the farm. And even John Deere, Case, New Holland, whoever the dealer is, whoever the manufacturer is, that's where they're still driven from. They're still based off the farm. Everything has to happen. And if it doesn't impact in a positive way to the farm, then most of the time those ideas get knocked out and something else moves into that place. But there's a huge impact with modern technology, electronics, just any number of things, all kinds of things going on, and there's more coming. I mean, it's changing so fast. It is a very high speed world.
Eileen, and one of the things that strikes me too is the job you're in and the connection with North Carolina State University. It's got to be something that folks, even in high school now, and looking at college, there's degrees in that field, academic degrees, but they are functionality degrees built around technology.
Right. I think, back when I was a student at NC State, I can't even imagine how much it's changed and what they're learning now. As Andy was talking about all the technology and devices that are used and all, it made me think, not long ago, we had a young man come out to the office and do a drone demonstration for us of a sprayer, and you might want to get him on the show, JW.
Yeah.
Jacob Giddens.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
And, but he actually will come out to your farm. You may have had him on your farm and he'll just lift that drone up and then it, I guess he puts settings and, I don't know how all this works, but
I was going to mention the drone situation too. I mean, even pilots, a drone pilot is a certified, he's a licensed pilot. He is, I said drone pilot, but he is a licensed pilot.
There's federal requirement.
Exactly. I'm a licensed pilot for fixed wing aircraft with the intent to go into crop dusting myself, but I just kind of put the brakes on because time and the drone situation seemed to be a little easier.
Yeah.
The drone pilot can oversee another person doing that work if he's been trained into it. In other words, Jacob, as she's talking about Jacob Giddens, he's flown for me several times this summer. He could be doing something off over here, one thing, lining up orders or whatever, and had somebody like me that he had trained to teach he had taught to fly that particular drone and do the work. let them do the work instead of them having to be licensed. They can work together, things like that. It makes it a little simpler. He's still got eyes on the unit and eyes on the operator, but he's able to teach someone how to do that. But now the drone technology is amazing. That's really, really cool. And I love to fly. I love airplane, but that drone is neat. And it really can put out a lot of work. I saw it, like I say, firsthand. I had Jacob probably spray, I don't know, maybe 2,000 acres for me this summer. He sprayed a lot, came several times, so it all adds up,
With a drone?
With a drone. Absolutely.
I mean, to me, that's fascinating.
And a drone's a lot cheaper than an airplane. There's a lot of money, but it's a lot cheaper than an airplane and the maintenance too.
Yeah.
So, that's a perfect avenue for someone that wants to be involved. But, you kind of got to like being outside in a hot day because it will be hot out there a lot of days. But that was an amazing thing to watch. That was an incredible tool to watch. And it can do dry fertilizer or do dry seed as well. I mean, that thing's just impressive. But it's just that the technology has no ending. I mean, it has no ending. It's limited only by money and your willingness and desire to learn. That's basically where you're going to end up there.
I think we're looking at each other, and I think we're kind of the same mindset. We're thinking about another show coming up. We want to do something with drone. That's fascinating. But I want to give us a little time here to talk about something you got coming up in just a few months now.
Yes.
It's not far away, and it's called Ag Day right here in Sampson County. And we've had one of those recently a couple of years ago.
We did.
And it was huge.
Yes.
Tell us about that, when it's coming up, and what folks need to know to be involved in it.
Okay. So Ag Day is coming back in March of 2024, March 23rd of 24. Should be maybe easy to remember.
Yeah, just a few months down the road.
Just a few months. And they can go to our website, sampson.ces for Cooperative Extension Service, .ncsu, NC State University.edu. And they can find out more information about Ag Day. It will be at the Agri Expo Center in Clinton from 10 to 4. And some of this technology we're learning about, hopefully we'll have there for people to walk up and actually see it close up. We always have activities there for children, people to meet that are in the industry, lots of great food. Entertainment. We've got 3 bands that are coming this time. One of them is a young lady from Harnett County that's now a Nashville recording artist, and she has a passion for agriculture, just like we do, Paige King Johnson. So we hope people will come. Again, that's Saturday, March 23rd, 2024, downtown Clinton.
Looking forward to that. And Andy, I know you're going to be involved in that as well, because you always support anything with ag. I'll give you about 20 or 30 seconds here to close. We're just kind of coming to a wrap up. We got to get out of here. Maybe 15 seconds.
Well, all I can say is just appreciate your farmer. In the event, and you're not familiar, and you're driving through the area and you go run up behind a tractor or a combine, slow down. He can see what you can't. Give him just a minute and he'll get out of your way.
I think this has been a great discussion, and I want to thank both of you for coming in and just talking frankly about what's going on with ag. And we've covered a lot of information here. Of course, I always say I like to have both of you back. We've got a number of shows that we have looked at. Eileen, you've been part of bringing together a lot of video and video equipment to make some ag shows. We're still working on that process. We're determined we're going to get something out there. And Andy, we might want to engage you with some support in just doing a regularly scheduled ag show. So thank you for being with us, and we look forward to having you again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We look forward to seeing you again next week right here on We Should Know. Stay tuned. Always call a friend. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.